Right now, inside your head, there is a voice. It's reading these words to you. It's been with you all day. Narrating your morning, commenting on your breakfast, rehearsing conversations you haven't had yet. You didn't start it. You've never figured out how to stop it. And if you're honest, you have no idea when it first appeared. That voice, the one you call you, is one of the strangest things the human brain has ever produced. And for most of human history, it may not have existed at all. Start with children, because children give away the secret. If you've ever watched a 4-year-old play alone, you've heard it. They narrate everything out loud. I'm putting the block here. No, that goes there. Now the car is going to crash. They're not performing for anyone. There's no audience. They are literally thinking out loud. And every adult on the planet used to do the same thing. In 1934, a Soviet psychologist named Lev Vygotsky published a book that would take decades to reach the West. In it, he argued that this out loud talking, what he called private speech, wasn't a quirk of childhood. It was the origin of human thought itself. Vygotsky's idea was radical. He believed that language doesn't simply express thinking, it creates it. A child learns to speak by talking to other people. Then she begins talking to herself out loud. Then, somewhere around age 7, the talking goes silent. It doesn't disappear. It moves inward. It becomes the voice you hear right now. Inner speech. The thing you've been doing your entire conscious life? But here's what most people never consider. That voice isn't speaking in full sentences. When you think coffee, you don't think, I should stand up and walk to the kitchen and make myself a cup of coffee. You think the word. Maybe not even the word. Maybe just the pull of wanting it, the image of the mug, a fragment of a sentence that was never completed. Vygotsky called this thinking in pure meanings, language compressed so far it barely qualifies as language. And yet, this is the engine running your entire conscious experience. But that's only half the story. And what comes next is genuinely unsettling. In the 1990s, a psychologist named Russell Hurlburt at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, invented a way to catch thought in the act. He called it descriptive experience sampling. The method was simple. Subjects wore a small earpiece. At random intervals throughout the day, a beep would go off. The moment they heard it, they froze and reported exactly what was in their mind at that instant. Not what they thought they were thinking, not what they assumed was happening, what was actually there. Hurlburt ran this experiment for over 2 decades. He recruited college students, retirees, factory workers, writers, every walk of life. Thousands of samples, thousands of frozen moments of consciousness captured at random and examined under a microscope. And what he found challenged one of the most basic assumptions we have about what it means to be human. Not everyone has an inner voice. That sentence alone should stop you, because you've probably assumed your entire life that everyone else's mind works like yours. That everyone hears a narrator. That thinking and talking to yourself internally are the same thing. Some people, a significant number, have no internal monologue at all. In Hurlburt's data, inner speech appeared in only about 26% of sampled moments. The rest of the time, people were thinking in images, in emotions, in bodily sensations, or in abstract patterns with no words attached to them whatsoever. Some reported what Hurlburt called unsymbolized thinking, the experience of knowing something clearly without any sensory form. No voice, no picture, just pure, wordless knowing. When these results went public widely around 2020, they broke the internet. People were stunned to discover that the way they experience their own mind isn't universal. Some people narrate their entire lives. Others live in complete internal silence. and neither group had ever imagined the other existed. But there's a deeper layer, and it reaches back 3,000 years. In 1976, a Princeton psychologist named Julian Jaynes published a book with one of the most provocative titles in the history of science, The Origin of Consciousness in the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind. Jaynes's theory was this: before roughly 1000 BC, humans did not experience inner speech the way you do now. They heard voices inside their heads, but they didn't recognize those voices as their own thoughts. When a commanding thought arose, make a decision, take an action, follow a path, they interpreted it as the literal voice of a god. Jaynes pointed to the Iliad, one of the oldest works of literature in existence, composed roughly 2,700 years ago. In it, no character ever decides anything, not once. No one pauses to reflect. No one weighs their options. No one debates with themselves internally. There is no inner deliberation anywhere in the entire poem. Instead, whenever a decision must be made, a god appears and gives a command. Athena grabs Achilles by the hair and tells him what to do. Apollo issues orders from above. The characters hear and obey, every single time. Jaynes argued this wasn't poetic convention. It wasn't mythology dressed up as narrative. It was a literal description of how the ancient mind actually worked. He called it the bicameral mind, 2 chambers. One hemisphere of the brain generated the voice. The other hemisphere received it and followed. There was no unified self in the middle making choices. There was only the voice and the obedience. Then, somewhere between 1000 and 600 BC, as civilizations grew complex, as writing spread, as trade routes connected cultures that had never met, the old structure collapsed. The voices of the gods went silent, and humans were forced to develop something new: the ability to recognize the voice inside their head as their own. Consciousness, the kind you experience right now, where you feel like a single unified I narrating your own life, may be only 3,000 years old. Most neuroscientists today consider Jaynes's full theory too extreme, but no one has entirely disproven it. And pieces of it keep surfacing in modern research. When you engage in inner speech, brain imaging shows that Broca's area activates, the same region that fires when you speak out loud. Your vocal cords make tiny micro-movements. Your tongue shifts position inside your mouth. Your brain is running the full motor program for speech, forming words, shaping syllables, preparing breath, just without pushing air through your throat. It's not a metaphor when scientists say you're talking to yourself. Your body is literally almost speaking. The only thing missing is the sound. And sometimes, in quiet rooms, if you listen closely enough, you can hear it. The faintest whisper of your own lips, moving to words that never leave your mouth. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. If the voice inside your head is you, who is the one listening?
Because there is a listener, you experience yourself as both the speaker and the audience. You say something internally and then react to it.
You argue with yourself. You coach yourself before a difficult conversation. You criticize yourself in a voice that sometimes doesn't feel like your own at all. Neuroscientist Charles Fernyhough at Durham University has spent years studying this phenomenon. He describes inner speech not as a monologue, but as a dialogue. An internal conversation between different versions of the self. You are never one voice. You are at least 2. And the sense of being a single, unified person is maintained moment to moment by a stream of language that never stops flowing. That might be the real answer. The voice inside your head isn't you talking to yourself. It's the process by which a self is created in the first place. Without it, you don't get silence. You get someone who doesn't quite know who they are. Every second of your waking life, your brain is whispering a story into its own ear. A story about who you are, what you want, and why any of it matters. You've been listening to it so long, you've mistaken it for thinking itself. But it's not thinking, it's narration. And the character it invented is you.